Titicaca.
The water villages of Peru. When most people think of Peru, they think of Machu Picchu.
This is Machu Picchu.
Cusco, and the capital Lima. But few people know about the fascinating water villages here. In the south of Peru, you will find a city called Puno.
From Peru, Puno.
Puno is the largest city on Lake Titicaca, one of South America's largest lakes, and the world's highest navigable body of water.
You can hear music playing from down there. You can see people living in houses.
Lake Titicaca sits 3,810 meters above sea level.
Titicaca.
And here in this lake you will find the Urus people. They preserve the floating lifestyle for hundreds of years and live here in small self-made water villages. My name is Gustav Rosted. I have traveled around the world for 10 years and I can assure you that the world is a fascinating place. And most people know that a place like Venice in Italy often is referred to as the floating city. But I have seen people living on the water in many different countries around the world. Like when I stayed for 3 days in the Iraqi marshlands with a local guy called Abu Haidar and experienced his simple lifestyle on the water. Or 5 years ago when I visited Halong Bay's floating village in Vietnam. Or Kampong Aya that is situated after the Brunei Bay with around 40,000 people in Brunei. Gandhi in Benin, also known as the Venice of Africa, lying in Lake Nokua.
Welcome to Benin.
And with 20,000 people was also very interesting to visit. And of course, Makoko, located on the coast of mainland Lagos in Nigeria. Just to mention a few of these unique water villages I have visited around the world. But none of these are like these self-fashioned floating islands in Lake Titicaca in Peru. These islands are handmade by the Urus people from a native species of reed, the totora, that abounds in the shallows of the lake. Urus people build temporary houses with the totora that float atop the water surface.
Mucho totora aquí. Totora muy importante.
Mucho bonito.
Puno is considered the capital of Peru's folklore, and you can expect traditional festivals with dance and music here. The city has around 140,000 people, and the Puno Cathedral is one of the highlights in the city. But the real highlight of this area is not Puno itself, but the really interesting nearby water villages. Lake Titicaca has a rich cultural history spanning several millennia, steeped in religious mythology and ancient traditions.
Mercedes-Benz Urus, muy rapidito.
South America's largest lake has been considered sacred by all of the great civilizations who have inhabited it. The lake's earliest inhabitants consisted of various tribes who can be traced back to the 2nd millennia BC. These ancient people used llamas for clothing and transport, grew crops of potato, fed on trout from the lake, and built boats and shelter from the totora reeds. The Uru or the Urus people are believed to be descended from the earliest inhabitants of Lake Titicaca. They preserved the floating lifestyle for hundreds of years. To protect themselves from invading groups, the Urus built mobile islands from the endemic totora plant. If a threat emerged, they could simply move the islands elsewhere in the lake. While this worked for a while, both the Incas and Spanish eventually discovered the islands.
So it really seems to me they have a thing with these animalistic symbols, the puma, these birds, eagles, I don't know what it is. It's a big thing here. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Marisol.
Marisol.
The Uru are descendants of one of the most ancient cultural groups in the Americas, and little is known about their mysterious history. I wanted to come here to their floating villages close to Puno and check out the people's lifestyle here nowadays, descendants of one of the oldest cultures of the continent.
Okay guys, up here on top of the Mercedes-Benz of the Urus, and over here we have a guy coming with the most important plant for this community.
Despite their traditional lifestyle, the Urus are not anti-technology, and many own television, radios and motorboats. They even have their own radio station broadcasting from one of the islands, and 2 schools also on the floating islands. A great highlight for any Lake Titicaca tour is a homestay with a local Urus family. And I loved my interactions with the locals here. The ground on the Reed Islands feels unstable and spongy, but people have been living on it for hundreds of years, and you are in no danger of falling through to the water. Remember, these people have done it for generations. Many of the Urus do not speak English or Spanish, but it was still a lot of fun interacting with them.
The houses they live in.
And I will never forget these super special villages in Lake Titicaca. Would you visit the Urus people? What do you think of their lifestyle and these floating villages?
Mucho bonito.
Please comment below. Remember to subscribe to Gus on the Go. See you guys.
Los aves, peces, casas, totora.
Ahora,
School, anda, other island.
¿cuántos minutos?
10 minutos.
10 minutos, sí.
Remando.
¿Remando?
Yes.
Ajá, bueno.